Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News. And last night we had Jenn's Fantasy Suite episode, which we always love. You know, there's always tours of hotel rooms and, close-ups on flowers and sprinklers and whatever innuendos may exist. Although Jenn didn't leave much to the imagination as she described her romp with Devin. We'll get into all of that and more on my coverage of the Fantasy Suite recap. So I take notes, I read them back to you. No edits, no jump cuts, just me and you guys for 15 or so minutes. Let's see, where do we start? Where's my first photo? So here's Molly. Jenn claims she will be getting engaged in Hawaii, and Marcus is like, not if I have anything to say about it, because he's about to take flight. Molly Mesnick is back. They must have booked her on like a Groupon date. She's like, I don't really want to do one episode. They're like, we'll bring you back for a second. She's like, free trip to Hawaii? You got me. Let me tell you something about these Bachelor alumni. God bless them, but what people will do for a free trip to Hawaii. They're like, we'll give you 3 days of babysitters. She's like, that's all I needed to hear. Take those kids, bring them to a waterfall, make sure they don't drown, and I'll see you with a Mai Tai. Jenn tells Molly she has Devin, Marcus, and then she like sort of stalls on saying Jonathan. She forgets his name. The sound guy's holding the boom. He's like, it's Jonathan. She's like, oh yeah, and that third guy who really, no offense to Jonathan, because seems like a great guy, but I don't know if Jenn likes great guys. Looking at you, Jeremy, you know what I mean? I feel like, if you're a fixer-upper, women love a fixer-upper, they like, if they find out that you've got some issues, they want to take you to Home Depot and buy some supplies. They want to put you back together like a broken IKEA dresser, just, all right. Jenna's first date is Devin. They take a helicopter on the date. Why do they always do helicopters? Oh, well, here's Devin talking to his caddy, the sexiest caddy of all time. Caddy, a.k.a. Daddy, Zaddy, Jesse, the Zaddy Caddy Daddy. Right there. Devin's wondering if he'll you'd put a hole in one. Golf speaking. That wasn't a metaphor. We're speaking about golf here. Let's see how many rounds he can go. Okay, what is his stroke? Okay, how many irons is he? Does he have a 9 iron? All right, come on. I didn't start this, all right? The show did. My Fantasy Suite idea. All right, let me tell you this. So Devin's going in some, a helicopter. Ooh, how cool. Here's my Fantasy Suite idea. Lost was filmed in Hawaii, and they have like a Hawaii Lost tour. I think a cool Fantasy Suite would be like a just full out theme. Just Lost, Dharma Initiative. Maybe they hook up in the hatch thing with the Scottish guy, whatever, you know what I mean? Like make it real, get Sawyer in on it, Hurley, the whole crew, just bring them in. All right, so anyway, they do this helicopter ride to the waterfall. It's nice and all, but if you've ever been to Hawaii, the best way to see the waterfall, they don't even have a waterfall photo. Either way, the best way to see a waterfall in Hawaii is by hiking there. And, trying to not slip on the rocks as you walk past a couple other out-of-breath tourists from, Montana. You know who I'm talking about. All right, anyhow, so they chat on the beach. Devin says he knows why he loves Jenn. She makes him feel so secure in his own skin. Jenn says sometimes it's hard for her to accept a good thing when she sees it. And I'm like, Jeremy, she's talking about you. And everyone's like, Devin's the good thing? No offense to Devin. No offense to Devin. But she's like, he's just so perfect. And I'm like, do I have my notes wrong? Are we talking about the same guy here? Nobody who is compared to Pete Davidson is considered a good thing. Respectfully, Pete. I mean that with respect. So anyhow, Jenn tells Devin she is on the way there, and he says he will be there waiting, and she is worth the wait. And by on the way there, they don't mean sexually. She's not like, I'm almost there. No. She's talking about love. She's on the way to love. They do the dinner date. Jenn says Devin is checking off every box. They're really making it easy for me to do these metaphors here. Checking off every box. And it's like the overnight hasn't even started yet. What are you doing? So here it is. Jesse wrote this handwritten, Oh, by the way, she's got a little Taylor Swift. What does that say? Eat, pray, love? What's that say there? I took mine off. I took mine off because my baby was trying to break it. But my Bachelor Rush Hour Driving with Dave guest that I just recorded with, Allie Phillips, gave me a Taylor Swift bracelet. My first one, whatever, the friendship bracelet, whatever the hell they're called. Anyhow, Jesse gives the formidable line. Should you choose to forego, should you choose to shack up, baby, and forego the sleep, maybe, and by the way, there's a lot you learn in the fantasy suite date. There's a lot you learn. It's the first time probably having to share a bathroom together, and, it's the first time you have to discuss digestive strategies. Are you a morning coffee kind of gal? What's your deal? You know what I mean? These are things you need to know. All right, so they do forego their individual rooms. We see the creepy video of them walking into the suite together. Jen asks Devin, should we pop some more champ? And I guess that's what they do. A little champ, a little romp with our champ. Champs-Élysées. So there they are doing the dang thing. Devin says this is a sneak peek into what every day could look like. No, Devin, a sneak peek is you guys arguing over what Netflix documentary to watch on a Friday night. You give in and let her choose the one you don't want to watch. It's like a period piece about nothing. And knowing full well in 20 minutes she's going to fall asleep, and then you can put your own show on. That is a sneak peek, my friend, into a relationship. Having a good hotel romp, that's for beginners. All right, the morning after, canoodling goes down at the Fairborn Orchid or whatever it's called. Jen says Devin looks like Pete Davidson, but is better than him in every way. Now, either Jen means that comedically, which wouldn't be a high bar, Devin is funnier than Pete, or more likely she's referring to his, personhood size, as Pete is known to be very well endowed, which it's like, by all means, enough is enough, So, I'm not one of those, well, what if a man said, but I mean, imagine if the male bachelor commented on the female, made an, I don't know, some sort of, allusion to a female contestant's vagina size or something. You would be like, what? But we're okay with it. Why? I don't know. It's okay. I'm not upset. I'm befuddled by how, the show starts, with Jen making that terrible joke where she goes, I want a guy with a big personality. And they're like, ladies, say no more. And they went through their headshots, and they're like, which of these guys is packing a waterfall of his own? And boy, they found one, I guess. So yeah. But love is more than just, the size of the, wait, you get the point. So anyhow, where are they? We moved to date 2. I mean, how do you follow that? Poor Jonathan, right? Poor Jonathan's got to follow Pete Davidson energy. So here they are. They do sweets, which is, again, my idea of a perfect date. Date 2 with Jonathan. Jen says it's been a slow burn, but now is falling for him. Jen takes him to a donut shop, and he says he isn't a sweets guy. I beg my pardon? Not a sweets guy? No wonder his legs are so toned. All I have to be is not a sweets guy. Very easier said than done, as that is my addiction of choice, or not of choice, to be quite honest. They hike to a waterfall, gorgeous views. Everyone gets a waterfall. They don't even have any photos. We don't have any photos of the waterfall either. You know what it looks like. It's water falling, right? By the way, very loud at waterfalls. And also, the water's usually very cold. So unless you've got Devon-sized anatomy, you're going to be not looking good after a cold waterfall, just from personal experience. All right, here, I got my notes somewhere. Jen takes him to a donut. We got that. They hike to the waterfall. A couch is set up for them. Most Hawaii waterfalls are overrun by tourists. This is not what you get when you visit. So for all of my mouth-breathing, Midwestern Americans that go to Hawaii, I wanted the couch and the nope. No. You're going to get a line of tourists all wearing moldy life preservers, floating around, probably all pissing in the same pot of water at the base of a waterfall. Sorry to ruin it for you. That's the Western world ruining a good thing. Looking at you, Mark Zuckerberg. You build your billionaire bunker in Hawaii, displacing the locals. Looking at you, Ari Jr. Boy, made from privilege from your race car daddy. It's not enough to own a home in Arizona. You want to buy one in Hawaii too. And what do? You complain about the avocado prices, all while mooching off the government fund, taking PPP loans so you can afford that nice SUV you have. What are we talking about? And you would think, how do I lose subscribers? I mean, we're just pitching fastball after fastball. Who would ever say no to this? Don't answer that. All right, we're cooking. They decide to enter the fantasy suite together. No, I missed one there. The evening date, Jenn opens up about growing up in a white town and how long it took her to celebrate her culture. She wants to help her kids celebrate themselves, which, by the way, I think this is great. Yeah, it's so often with Asian communities and other ethnic communities, when they come to the States, they try to change their names and whitewash, their culture, because, there is a social pressure to fit in. I mean, my community has a very high percentage of Indian Americans, and, you can imagine, like she was talking about, you bring, God forbid, you're in third grade and you bring a little bit of, some red curry to lunch, and everyone's like, that's not a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you're like, yeah, my mom loves me. She made me a hot meal. I say that coming from someone whose mom never made him a hot meal. I had a single mom. One time I got my sandwich and I opened it up and it was dry. There was no meat or cheese or lettuce or mayonnaise. It was just dry pieces of bread. And I was like, all right, my mom must be having a rough day. And then I probably ate some of my friends' leftovers. That's growing up lower middle class, folks. Okie dokie. So let's continue here on the date. None of this matters. Hey, you might say, Dave, this is the worst recap you've ever done. It's all over the place. I might say it's the best one I've ever done. Who really knows, right? So anyway, we're the Jonathan date. Nothing much happens. They decide to enter the fantasy suite together. They drink some champagne. Champagne's okay. I'd probably rather drink vodka Celsius and just share up, ideas about growing my podcast. That's what I would do in the fantasy suite date. Just get high off of caffeine. Who could say no to that? That's how I roll. No, my other fantasy suite date would be edibles. Why are they always doing champagne when a good edible, here's a fantasy suite idea. You eat some edibles and then you watch Ancient Aliens on the Discovery Channel. Is this not, who wouldn't want to go on a fantasy suite with me? Just Ancient Aliens and maybe a couple true crime documentaries. We're living life. You got the phone call down to the 24-hour room service. You're high as a kite, and you're just you're chocolate strawberries. You're just looking at them. Okie dokie. So anyhow, we got our next date. Marcus is the next date. Jonathan says they went to bed smiling, which is nice. I guess that's how you want to go to bed. And then they woke up looking fine. Although, is this the face of someone who's like, I'm about to send you home? Who knows? I mean, because it feels to me like Jonathan's next on the list, but what do I know, So Marcus goes golfing with Jesse. Devin, there he is contemplating on his, beachside chair there, starting to feel his feelings. Very normal, happens every season. Beautiful wide shot of Jesse golfing. And by the way, this is like, if you're Jesse, you have to pretend to your wife that like works hard, because she's at home, she's pregnant at the time, and she's like, how's work? And you're like, oh, Hawaii sucks. Oh, it rains. There's like garden snakes everywhere. And when in turn, you're just like enjoying your time here. You know what I mean? But you know why? Because you know what the sign is of a healthy relationship? Lying to your partner so that they don't get jealous. That's love, folks. That's love. You're welcome for all the marriage advice I'm giving you. All right, so let's continue. We are really just flying through this, or not. We're at a snail's pace. Third date, Marcus golfs with Jesse as he waits for his date. I would prefer to see more of what Jesse Palmer is doing between the dates. Maybe Jesse could take the boys to Denny's after she leaves them. You know what I mean? This really should be the Jesse Palmer show. They are paying him a decent amount of money. Just use him more often. No offense to Marcus or Jonathan or Devin, but I would rather see Jesse Palmer hanging out, doing whatever he does. Change the name. It's the Jesse Palmer show. So they golf. Jesse tells Marcus that he deserves to be happy. Marcus clearly doesn't believe him. Look, Marcus, he's had a rough go. This show has been a rough go for him, to say the least. Marcus's fantasy suite begins with Jenn. Where are they? She says she's in love. We'll get to that in a second. She is afraid that she is farther along than him, and judging by the previews, this is going to be a dumpster fire of a day. They do a sunset date where they go snorkeling with manta rays that light up the night. Now, here's my question. Is this really all filmed in one night? Because you can't go, let's assume it's 8 p.m. when they do this sunset, thing. Let's assume this ends at 10 p.m. Let's assume they're changed and ready for their date at midnight. I mean, women, it takes you a little while to get your hair done. You got to dry it. The blow dryer in the hotels never got the right charge level. And so, like, did they film this on the same night? My guess is they took the day off and then refilmed the next day, because I just don't see the crew doing this. But either way, it was a good date. Look, the date is cool. But okay, so the Marcus tells Jenn that there's potential, but then he tells the camera crew that he does not love her yet. So Marcus told them she is clearly disappointed, and just wants to go into fantasies. Sorry, this doesn't make any. This is where I started doing voice to text. This makes no sense. Look, kudos to Marcus for being honest, is what I have to say. I mean, at least he's being honest. Jenn says there's many layers and phases of love, but that she'd be lying if she didn't tell him she was in love with him. So she said it, folks. Jenn said she's in love with Marcus, the one guy who's really not getting there. Meanwhile, Devin says he feels jaded since his fantasy suite says you can only love someone for so long without getting it back. The dude is spiraling, but again, I don't feel, I get the feeling that Devin has. You know, you might say, well, is that true love if it's conditional? Well, most true love has a condition. It's got a social structure. It's got a social contract that says, I will love you, but you have to love me back. You know what I mean? And you know, for all the people that say, no, live, love, let go. Say, you know, okay, sure, whatever, Nicholas Sparks. But in most cases, you expect it in return, and he gave it, and I believe he meant it. Whereas when Sam said, I love you, everyone's like, yeah, okay, Sam. I believe Devin meant it. But he's also in his fields. He's ruminating, as they say. So Jesse asks if he's gotten any reassurance, and he says he didn't feel whole because she didn't reciprocate, even though in the moment he said he will be there waiting for her. He says he's withering away. All right, we got some drama happening. Devin says he needs to talk to Jenn and be brutally honest. He thinks this is the end for him. He said before he wasn't going to give her an ultimatum, and then he walks to the room to give her an ultimatum. He's like, I'm not trying to give you an ultimatum or anything, but if you don't tell me you love me, I gotta go. Like, I'm hitting the road. Now, you gotta be careful. He kind of did the same thing on one of the episodes when the ex-boyfriend was coming back, where it was like, I'm not going to be around if she's doing this. And it's like, look, I get ultimatums, but, you know, you got to be careful when you use an ultimatum on The Bachelorette, because Jenn's, you know, that might be what gets you sent home. So either way, from well-endowed to probably very tired from a busy week, that was your fantasy suites. Tonight is the Men Tell All. Does look pretty juicy. Looks like Jen's going to put some men in their place. I'll have a recap for you tomorrow on the Rush Hour podcast, and you can check out all of my other entertainment news. It's all in one place, the Rush Hour with Dave Neal. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.